Hey, what's going on guys? It's your boy, NerdModeOn, and welcome to a Star Wars Battlefront video, and today we're actually going to be talking about if this is a title that you should be picking up on day one, or if it's a title that you should wait for some further reviews to come out. So of course, the beta officially ended a few days ago, and of course it definitely had a very good population when it comes down to the amount of players that played on the current generation as well as the PC platform. Battlefront was definitely one of EA's largest betas that has officially been released to this date, which is definitely very exciting. I know a lot of people are not exactly completely committed to EA, and they don't necessarily have the greatest reputation currently, but I would definitely say that Battlefront definitely brought in a lot of new consumers, and overall it was definitely a pretty big success when it comes down to allowing players to play it without any pre-orders or jumping through any particular hoops. And as a result of this, hopefully this kind of strengthened EA's image, and overall this should be an interesting time when it comes down to the official release of the particular title. Now of course, taking a look at Battlefront, I definitely did make a pretty detailed video which is going to be linked in the description if you guys would like to watch the good, the bad, and the ugly from the Battlefront beta. Of course it is pretty thorough for the most part, and I don't think I necessarily missed everything, but there is a couple of things that I might have skimmed over when it comes down to it. But in terms of deciding whether or not this is going to be a title that you're interested in pre-ordering or picking up even on day one, however, there is also the opposite side to the spectrum, which could even be you not picking up the title or even waiting for further reviews to come out on the market. Now when it comes down to my personal opinion, I definitely feel like there's one way to really look at this question and overall answer it without putting too much time and dedication into doing a lot of research and looking into gameplay and everything else that comes associated with making a pretty big decision like that. And as a result, I feel like you should be asking the question, was the beta something that you were interested in, and did it meet the expectations that you set forth for the title? So of course, everybody's kind of well aware that Battlefront, even in the previous iterations of the title, looking all the way back at the PS2 and the original Xbox, many of us will be familiar that the Battlefront series was definitely never a really competitive series by itself. It was always very casual, it was always a very enjoyable series to jump into and kind of kill some of the AI, which is overall what I tended to do a lot more when I was playing the overall title. And of course, as a result of that, we've seen over the years that the amount of players that have jumped into more competitive / milsim shooters has definitely increased with time. If you look back to that era on the PS2 and the original Xbox, milsims were definitely not a very common thing to commonly find on the console platform. Even taking a look at the PC platform, milsim and hardcore shooters really weren't necessarily a big thing at the time, considering that they just didn't have the horsepower to really bring forth the graphics and the overall physics that are required for those types of shooters. Now of course, transferring to where we are currently today, there's definitely a lot more great shooters currently on the market. Everybody's a lot more competitive in terms of bringing forth the best content that a developer can make for the consumers, which in turn really leaves Star Wars Battlefront kind of in an awkward position, considering that over the years we've kind of graduated from very arcadey stuff to more competitive / milsim stuff. So Star Wars is really banking on nostalgia to really bring in the consumers and overall really allow the player base to enjoy the title, considering that Star Wars has definitely been a very big pivotal part of many people's lives over the last 30 years or so. So of course that's really what they're banking on currently. So with the historical significance kind of talked about and giving some general information about how the industry has changed over the last 7 or so years, we can kind of see why Battlefront is going to be a different title, and it's definitely aiming for a different demographic by itself. Now of course, in terms of if Star Wars Battlefront is going to be a title for you, you really have to ask yourself, did you enjoy the beta, and was it something that you were definitely interested in when you first heard about it over a year ago? Considering that we've been talking about how the industry has changed and how this title is going to be a lot more casual in terms of its player base and the features that are currently present that are going to be released in the title, that's really going to impact your overall decision in terms of if Star Wars Battlefront is going to be a title that you pick up, or if it's going to be a title that you decide to skip on or just wait for further reviews to come out. So in conclusion, I would definitely recommend sitting down and deciding whether or not you enjoyed the beta and the information that was present during the beta, of course, as well as there is always the possibility of picking up the title and returning it if you are a PC player, so of course there is definitely not too much of a risk when it comes down to the financials on that side, so when the official title does release, that is always an option that is available to the PC community. And last but not least, Star Wars Battlefront also has the ability to be a gateway game for you to kind of jump into some other markets or even wait for some other larger titles to come out as well. Considering that we do have quite a bit of AAA titles coming towards the end of 2015, as well as some big hitters coming in 2016, there's definitely a good way to kind of get some time to kind of disappear, especially when it comes down to waiting for those titles to release. But anyway guys, when it comes down to it, I can't really give you the end-all be-all decision considering that I don't handle your financials, and I can't really make you buy something that you're not interested in when it comes down to it. Alongside that information, let me know if Star Wars Battlefront is going to be a title you decide to pick up, or if it's going to be a title that you decide to wait on and wait for some further reviews and or just not pick up in the first place. I'm definitely interested to see what you guys will have to say, and of course, until the next episode guys, this has been NMO, and I'm going to be signing out guys. Peace.